Well, good evening. Welcome to the Airmanship Development Support Organization Demonstrator Briefing. And as you've probably heard in earlier sessions of the Redefining Airmanship series, that we are calling this operation an ADSOD, an Airmanship Development Support Organization Demonstrator. And I'm Dave Cook. Glad you could join me. Well, the briefing this evening, and we're calling this briefing number 1 because we anticipate additional briefings in the future about the ADSOD. We're going to cover who's behind the ADSOD, the demonstrator, why we're doing it, what it is in detail, where we're going to do it, when we're going to do it, and how we're going to do it. Now, a little bit different standard operating procedures tonight. If you've attended the webinars, this is being done on a little bit different platform. This is a GoToMeeting platform, so we are have a little bit different operating system. Not a huge difference though. I have all of the mics muted out there for all of you attending this evening at this point, and because there is no raise your hand icon, as you probably noticed on your control panel, I'm going to leave all the mics muted. But you could send me a chat down in the chat section here and send it if you want to ask a question or make a comment, that I can open up your mic. So that's a little bit different than the GoToWebinar platform. Also, when we do Q&A and we're having discussions, I will unmute all of the mics. So when I tell you that I've unmuted the mics, you can assume that your mic is open too. And again, I'm going to leave the chat enabled all the time, so if you have comments, questions, you can just enter them in that chat section. Well, let's start out right at the with the meat of this. Who's behind this Airmanship Developer Support Organization Demonstrator, or the Demonstrator as we call it? The sponsor of the ADSOD is the Center for Airmanship Excellence, and you've all heard about that in the Redefining Airmanship seminar or webinar series. We've talked about what the center is and the fact that it's a resource for pilots who are seeking airmanship excellence. The Center for Airmanship Excellence is sponsored by the Aerospace Trust. The Aerospace Trust is a not-for-profit organization. I happen to be the managing trustee of the trust. I control it. And its purpose is aerospace research, development, and education. The Aerospace Trust has initiated an initiative that we're calling Reinvigorating Personal Flying. And we believe that reinvigorating personal flying will help be part of the solution for general aviation's 4 greatest challenges. And we think those greatest challenges are the general aviation safety record. We've talked about that in the Redefining Airmanship seminar webinar series. The fact that it's 38 times worse than the airlines, 6 times worse than charter operators, and it has been relatively flat over the last 20-30 years, although the recent trends, the last few years, the safety record is getting worse. Also, the lack of new pilots is one of the 4 greatest challenges facing general aviation. The student starts are way down. We'll talk about that in a minute. Also, a major challenge, we believe, is the dwindling number of current pilots. As you all know, I've been in this game a long time, and a lot of the other folks involved in this have been in aviation a long time, and that just means that we're starting to drop out now for various reasons. And other factors have come into play that have been reducing the pilot population. In fact, I think this cartoon kind of says it all when it comes to the aging pilot population, just not flying as much. We'll look at some numbers here in a second. And of course, the declining flight activity overall in general aviation is a major challenge that we're facing. The Aerospace Trust has put together a team that's attacking this problem along with the Trust. And part of the team is the FAA Wings program. Also Southern Illinois University Carbondale, as you probably know, they're in the Big 5, if you will, for university aviation programs. They're involved with some aspects of the initiative. Lewis University here in the Chicago area, also in the Big 5 aviation universities. Kishwaukee College, the only junior college in the area that has an aviation program. They're a co-sponsor and one of our partners. The Chicago chapter of Women in Aviation International. Compass Consulting. Compass Consulting is a team of very experienced aviation experts. The leader of that team is Captain Dave Greenberg. Dave is the former founder and CEO of Cargo 360. That's a 747 cargo operation. Before that, Dave was the Chief Operating Officer of Korean Air, and before that he was Senior VP Flight Ops for Delta, and before that he was a Delta line captain, and before that he was an Air Force instructor pilot. Cirrus Aircraft is also a partner with us. They're providing quite a bit of support. We'll talk about that. Flight Design USA, which is the leading producer of light sport aircraft, is on our team. And then we have many individuals on the team. We have, for example, a retired FAA inspector, several business people who are pilots also, fly for their own personal enjoyment and transportation. And we have several current and retired airline and corporate pilots, in other words, professional pilots, who are involved in the Demonstrator and what we've been doing here. Well, let's move on to why we're doing it. As I mentioned briefly, but let's look at it in just a little bit more detail, all of the indices of the health of personal flying segment of general aviation in the U.S. are trending down and to the right. They're all getting worse. For example, student starts. I mentioned that a little bit earlier. Back in the mid-'80s, for example, we were experiencing about 136,000 student starts a year. And now we're down to about 60,000 student starts a year. That decline was fairly steep in the late 80s and has been down around that 60,000, 70,000 mark for about 3 decades now, but still falling off, so the trend line is down. Student completions, AOPA just completed a big study, actually paid to have it done by a marketing company. They have found that about 80% of all of the people that start to pursue a private pilot's certificate don't complete it. 80% don't complete. So that's a bad trend. The number of active pilots, as I mentioned, in 1980, there were 850,000 active pilots. Of course, that's the FAA definition, active pilot being a pilot with a current medical. But there were 850,000 of us in 1980, and now there's about 600,000 of us. And really, we're nowhere near as active. If you look at the average number of hours flown per year by all of the pilots with medicals, we've dropped down from the mid-40s to the low 20s per year, 20-some hours a year on average for activity. So the number of active pilots and the activities dropped off. Number of new aircraft sold back in the early 80s. Wichita was making and selling about 20,000 piston singles a year. Last year, the whole country, all the U.S. manufacturers, turned out about 1,600 light piston singles. Piston engine hours are down. Again, 1980, about 35 million. Last year, about 14 million, so off about 60%. Number of airports are dwindling. Since the mid-1980s, we've lost about 600 civil-use airports in the U.S., and that's about, we're losing about a little bit more than 3 airports a month on average over the last 30 years now. Number of FBOs have dropped from around 12,000 in the early 80s to about 4,000 now, and we're still losing about 400 a year. General aviation safety record, as I mentioned, is getting worse, so it's on a downtrend. So all these indices of the health of personal flying are going in the wrong direction. That's one of the reasons we're looking at this now. But we think really the big question is, are we just going to stick our heads in the sand, or are we going to do something about it? Are we going to initiate a go-around to this situation and improve things? And of course, we're of the mind right now that we need to do something. Also, why we're moving forward at this point in the project is that the research that we've been doing since last June has indicated that most current personal flyers will adopt best practices, industry best practices, if we structure them properly. In fact, those of you who completed the FAA Wings program, Redefining Airmanship seminar and webinar series, 82% of you said that you'd like to belong to a safety culture, and 59% of you said you'd like to fly within a safety management system. So that's a pretty good indication that current pilots want to get involved in this type of system that the ADSOD or the Demonstrator is going to represent. Also, the AOPA study, and from what we've seen, indicates to us that the general aviation safety record is a major barrier to entry to new pilots, especially their spouses and significant others. The folks who are thinking about learning how to fly are discouraged because the general mood in the country among non-flyers at this point is, oh, those dangerous little airplanes. And I guess with 1,200 accidents a year, which is, like 4 a day on average, and the current media news cycle and media availability that most people are hearing about a lot of these accidents now, the perception of dangerous little airplanes is keeping a lot of these new people from getting involved, becoming pilots. So now is the time, we believe, to do something about that. As I keep mentioning this AOPA study, they just announced the results. You can find it at the AOPA website. But the good news for us, and one of the reasons why we've decided to move forward, is they verified all of the assumptions we had about how we need to conduct not only initial flight training, but recurrent flight training, if you will, or the flight organizations we have to keep people involved. Now, here's just a quick overview of what this study found. The second order factors, the big factors that they grouped respondents into, and they talked to about 1,000 people around the country. They found that the quality of educational quality was really a big problem, and again, not only for initial training, but for recurrent training and things like avionics training. The instructor effectiveness was a big problem on average. Unqualified instructors, young instructors that really don't know their stuff or are not focused on the student. A lot of everybody shooting from the hips in the flight training programs. The lessons aren't organized. Very little scenario-based training going on. The support that the instructor gets from the flight organization is lacking. Additional resources that don't cost a lot of money for the students, like online resources and so forth. Test preparation support is lacking. So all of those things that we know we can design into the system that we're going to put into the Demonstrator to address those problems. Also, customer focus is lacking. We all know that in most rental flight school operations. They really aren't focused on us anymore, on the customer. Quality aircraft, old airplanes rather than new airplanes with all the modern safety features. Scheduling can be a problem because the fleets aren't diversified enough. Scheduling systems aren't worked out properly and so forth. The value proposition, therefore, at these operations is not attractive. Old airplanes for high cost versus new airplanes for lower cost, as an example. Also, we need to bring community back in to what we're doing. We've lost that, I think you'd agree with me, over the last couple, 3 decades. And the AOPA study found that to be exactly one of the reasons why people are dropping out, that lack of community. We need to create the social community again. We need to have mentors. We need to tie people together, network. And also people need to get recognized for their achievements, because that's one of the main reasons that most of us get into learning to fly and flying these airplanes is we want to achieve things. We all as human beings like to get recognized for our achievements. Also, there has to be a system, a formal system, high-tech, modern system of information flow that shares all kinds of information, safety information, operational information, business information. It has to be pretty transparent. So all of these things have just gotten confirmed by the AOPA study. Another reason why we're looking at this now is despite the fact that the FAA, AOPA, and many other aviation safety related organizations have spent tens of billions of dollars over the past decade, the general aviation safety record has not noticeably improved. And you can probably remember those stats I threw up on graphs back in session 1 of Redefining Airmanship. Shows that clearly, that the general aviation safety record has not improved, and as I mentioned, in fact, it's getting worse. But at the same time, over that same time frame, the airlines, the corporate guys, and Part 135 operators have significantly improved their safety records. They've cut it by about 4 times, so really improved it. And we know that one of the main reasons that those improvements have been made in the safety record is due to the introduction of safety cultures and safety management systems. They've worked. It's not a theory. So we believe that by applying those same kind of industry best practices to our personal flying, where appropriate and as appropriate, then we can significantly improve the safety record, make flying safer for those of us who are participating in that kind of an operation, and make it much more attractive for new people. Also right now, another reason we're approaching this now is the FAA is promoting safety management systems. No other than Administrator Randy Babbitt has been making numerous statements like these about safety management systems, safety cultures, flying right, if you will. And you know, Randy says one of the things, I'm confident that safety management systems will really make a difference in reducing aviation accidents. I know there are those who complain that they're too small for a safety management system, and that really, I think, speaks to our personal flying, because you know, a lot of us are, in effect, individual operators. Or other people are saying it's too costly, Babbitt says, or that they don't have the time, because you have to put a safety management system together and you have to operate it. No one and no company, however, Babbitt says, is too small for SMS, and I agree with that. Because the cost of SMS is far less than the cost of an accident, far less, especially if we can create these safety management systems in a way that we can spread their cost across a lot of pilots so that the individual cost per hour, if that's how you want to look at it, per flight hour, is reasonable. And I think we've found through our analysis that that's real doable. Also, to answer the question why we're doing it, we believe, based on what we've learned over the last 5 months, and I think I've mentioned before, you probably know we did about 12 webinars and 12 seminars, Redefining Airmanship, talked to about 200 people here in the Chicago area, primarily current pilots. And what we believe, the feedback we've gotten from everybody, is that airmanship development will improve safety. Airmanship development will provide new and exciting challenges to get those of us who haven't been flying much back into it, and keep those of us who are into it excited, challenged, keep us flying like the good old days. And we also believe that we've shown, or we have a good indication, that airmanship development will require increased flight activity. The only way you get to be a better airman is by flying. And as I've mentioned in the webinar seminars, that we believe that the minimum for pilots to maintain a minimum level of proficiency in the type of flying that's not real demanding, you know, VFR day type flying, is 4 hours a month. And if you're going to be doing more demanded flying, you got to fly more than that on average, and it's got to be the right kind of flying, has to be critiqued properly, supported properly. So, bottom line, more flying than what we're doing now. Remember that national average right now is about 21 hours a year, and we're saying it's got to be at least 48 hours a year. So if we were to get everybody into this program and they would fly 48 hours a year versus 21, we would really boost that flight activity, make general personal flying much healthier. We also believe that airmanship development will provide a clear flight plan for new pilots. Very small steps along the way as they progress in their airmanship development, as we've talked about in the Redefining Airmanship webinars and seminars. and it makes it easier for them to understand what they have to do to be able to be qualified to fly, to perform at a level, to do what they want to do with the airplanes. So very clear plan. Also, airmanship development, by doing it the way we're talking about with the Demonstrator, the ADSOD, we believe that we'll be consolidating that flight hour demand, which will then reduce the cost of flying, and there's no magic there. If you have a rental airplane in a club that's only flying 5 hours a month, you've got to spread all the fixed costs over the 5 hours. And if you're flying the airplane 50 hours a month, those per hour costs come way down. So you can bring the cost of flying down by doing it efficiently, aggregating the demand, as the MBAs would tell you. Another reason why we're doing this is we really truly believe, based on our experience in the industry, our experience doing things like culture change for large pilot groups and so forth. Excuse me, I'm just going to mute this. I got a fire. That wasn't the fire warning horn going off here in the cockpits. Sorry about that. We really believe that if enough of us band together and do this, that we can change the future of the industry, the personal flying, from what could very well be going over the cliff here in a few years, where the customer base is too small to support what the infrastructure that we need for personal flying. We can change that from no more personal flying available to us, or only available at a very, very high cost, to an industry that has a rapidly growing pilot population, significantly increased flight activity, and greatly improved personal flying safety. We think that can be done, so that's another reason why we're proposing this ADSOD now. Now, here's some important things that need to be done, we believe, and the ADSOD can show that these can be done. We need to start growing the pilot population by a net of 120,000 new pilots a year. Right now it's a negative net, so we'd have to get the student starts back up to that 130 to 150,000 level a year, and change that retention rate from losing 80% to keeping 80%, get everybody flying more. We'd have to do all of that to make this happen. But hey, that's where it was before. We believe that we have discovered, or we know how to put it back on that track. So the Demonstrator is all about demonstrating that that's possible. We think we can get the flight activity back up to the 1980 level plus, and we're real confident by using the systems, techniques, processes, procedures, everything that's involved in this Demonstrator, that we can actually prove that we can greatly improve personal flying safety. In fact, my personal belief, my opinion is, if we do this right, we can make our kind of flying, the people who are flying in this kind of system, just as safe as airline flying. Just as safe as airline flying. Maybe even more so. We also believe that the Demonstrator can show that we can increase the number of new aircraft sold back up to that $20,000 units per year level. Pretty easy math. On the model that we're using in the ASOD, which is only one way to look at it, we're using a model of 10 pilots per airplane. So if we have 120,000 new pilots, that's 12,000 new airplanes are needed just for those new pilots every year. But then you've got expanding flying of existing pilots that are moving up into bigger airplanes. So we think we could easily get back to that 20,000 new airplanes a year, which then will spread the overhead cost, including the product liability insurance premium, for the manufacturers over more units, thus bringing the cost down per new airplane considerably, which then will reduce the hourly cost that has to be charged for a rental operation or a flying club. So we believe, and this is a bunch of us old heads sitting around drinking coffee looking each other in the eye, after looking at this now for well over a year and researching it thoroughly, that we can prove that this can be done. And of course that's what this Demonstrator is out to prove. And we think that all of this will result in the strengthening of the personal flying infrastructure. We think that there'll be more FBOs, more flight schools, more rental operations, more of everything out there, which will then be better for all of us and ensure the future of our privilege, which it is a privilege, and the affordability of personal flying for you and me, for all of us. So, I guess right now I'd like to have you consider, not answer the question, I'm not going to open up the mics for this, but just have you consider this question. Where do you stand on this? There's two ways to go, right? You can say, well, Dave, I've been thinking about what you said back when I heard about this before in the Redefining Airmanship series. I hear what you just said. I've been reading about it everywhere in the industry press. I'm convinced somebody's got to do something. So you need to ask yourself, are you going to be one of those guys that's going to do something about it? Because that's what this ADSOD is all about, and you can be a very important part of that, and I'm about to tell you what that's all about. All right, we've talked about the who and the why. Now let's talk about what this thing is in detail. Now this is going to look pretty familiar to you if you attended all of the Redefining Airmanship series. You might have missed it if you didn't catch every one of the sessions. And by the way, if you haven't caught all those sessions in Redefining Airmanship, go to airmanshipexcellence.org, Airmanship Archives, and all of the sessions are available now as video downloads. So you can catch anything that you missed. But this is what I've talked about briefly in the seminar series, and this is what we're proposing to do. This is what the ADSOD, Airmanship Development Support Organization, is. First of all, let's define what it's for. It's only for personal flying. Personal flying we define as the use of general aviation aircraft for personal transportation and pleasure. So we're not talking about changing how airlines operate. We're not talking about changing how charter operators or corporate operators operate. We're not talking about changing how flight schools themselves operate. We're talking about how people use personal aircraft for personal transportation. And what we know we're going to have to prove this. We have a formal business plan written. I'm convinced that we could make that personal business plan, available to the whole industry. And hardly anybody, if anybody, would take the business plan and go do it, because there's a lot of big thinking, radical thinking, if you will, in what we're proposing with the demonstrator. So my experience, and the rest of us have been around a long time, our opinion is that the industry is not going to make the changes we're advocating until they see that they work. So we've come to the conclusion somehow somebody has got to prove that all this works. And so that's what this demonstrator is all about. And again, it's a demonstrator. We're going to stand it up here in Chicago, and we're going to show that it works. After we show that it works, we're in discussions right now with Southern Illinois University to team with us. Remember, they're teamed with us on part of this already. This is another aspect. We're going to ask them to have their aviation business folks write a business case study that shows the results and the how-to, the basic how-to of how to do this, what we're going to demonstrate. And I'm also going to write a book about this to give it a little different approach, so it's more accessible for even more people in the industry to do it this way. And we're hoping that a lot of people are going to take that ball and run with it around the country. But we know from our own experience that even at that point, we don't think, it's our opinion now, that we're going to get a lot of entrepreneurs in the industry going out and doing it at that point. So we are also then going to brand the ADSOD and push it out through a private company across the country. And I think that once we get several of these ADSODs around the country, that then the industry will start to pick it up. They'll have to, because it'll be the new standard. If they want to compete, they'll have to do it this way, and then we can change it. So that's our approach to this. Here's what the ADSOD will prove. It'll prove that by applying industry best standards, safety practices to personal flying, we can have many, many fewer accidents, down from that 1,200 a year to just a handful for the people who are flying this way. We believe that will prove that technically advanced aircraft with the advanced flight safety devices will drastically improve safety. We also believe that the ADSOD will prove that by consolidating this demand for flying, will spread those safety system related costs and reduce the overall cost of flying. So we're going to prove those things, we believe. We're also going to prove that the number of student starts can be increased to 150,000 a year. Now we're not going to prove that obviously with one ADSOD in Chicago, but when it comes to marketing, if you show that it's scalable, then it's like a test market. So we believe, and we have a lot of marketing guys involved in this, we're all of the same opinion, that if we do this right here in Chicago and document it properly, we'll prove that on a national scale you can get back up to that 150,000 student starts a year. We also can prove that we can retain 80% instead of losing 80% after they start to learn to fly, and we believe that we can prove that we can we can turn around the decline in that absolute number of active pilots and make them more active. But just as importantly, we've got to prove that this ADSOD is a sustainable business model, because we aren't going to be able to do it because you got to remember the old adage that we've always known about in aviation, especially in personal flying. No bucks equals no Buck Rogers. So this has to work financially. It has to be a sustainable business model. The FAA isn't going to underwrite it. There's no sugar daddy that I can see that's going to underwrite it. Who could on a national scale? This has got to work as a business model, but we believe it will. So we've got to prove that. All right, let's take a look at the elements of the ADSOD then. What does it really look like? First of all, it's got all these elements we've talked about in the Redefining Airmanship series. It's committed. The organization, the Demonstrator, is committed to making flying safer. That's commitment from top to bottom. Everybody involved is committed to safety, to making it safer. So therefore, we're all committed to operating within a formal safety culture. We'll have a safety management system. It'll have only pilots who are selected will be participating in this demonstrator. We only want pilots who are committed to the goals and the ideals of what we're trying to accomplish, guys that want to be on that leading edge stuff. And in fact, when I write this book, all the guys who participate in this, their names will be in there, and some of the story about, their personal stories will be in there. And so we're really, if you think about it, going to be writing history here if this all works. And I've got better things to do, and most of the other guys involved in this have better things to do. We wouldn't be putting our time and effort and our money in this if we didn't think we could do this. But we can't do it alone. We've got to do it together. So we're going to select the guys who want to do it with us. This will be a not-for-profit. The Demonstrator will be set up as a standalone not-for-profit business. And so the goal here is not making money. However, it does have to be a sustainable business model. The ADSOD will also have a focus on airmanship development. Everybody will have a personal airmanship development plan. All the tools will be there to develop your airmanship, so it's going to have a focus on that. But it's also going to incorporate a lot of fun and a lot of aviation-related social activities. We're going to put that community back in that. And I think you've probably heard me talk a little bit about some of the ideas, but like airmanship challenges, where who can fly the most precise flight plan, proficiency courses, spot landing contests. I mean, we've got a lot of great ideas that can keep all of us busy and interested for a long time, and I'm sure all of us involved will always be able to think up new ideas for challenges so that our list will get longer, not shorter. I know my personal airmanship challenge list, you call it a bucket list, whatever you want, I keep adding things to it. It never gets shorter. Even though I do them, I scratch one off and I add 3 more. So I'm sure we can incorporate things that will keep us interested and having fun for a long time. Also, the ADSOD will only use new technically advanced aircraft with one exception, and all of the people that we teach to fly and all of the current pilots who are selected to participate in this will go through a course, a tail dragger course, but all the new people, we're going to start them out in tail draggers. New champs, brand new airplanes, but they aren't technically advanced aircraft because we want everybody to have really good stick and rudder skills, and then we'll go fly the magic boxes. So if you're already a pilot like you guys are, and you don't have a lot of tail dragger experience, we'll put you through a tail dragger initial course to where you're good at it, and then you'll have that tail dragger flying in your recurrent training throughout the year, so you maintain those good stick and rudder skills. Otherwise, you'll fly these technically advanced aircraft, Autoflight and all that sort of thing. Every airplane that can have it will have modern safety features like airbags. We'll talk about some of the others. All of the airplanes, with the exception of the champs, the stick and rudder airplanes, like I like to call them, will have glass cockpits. Commonality, we've decided at this point on going Garmin. So like in the LSAs, we'll have Garmin G3Xs, and in the Cirrus we'll have the G1000 perspective system. A lot of commonality in how you operate them and functionality and all that. So it won't be a major hurdle moving between the different airplanes. All the glass cockpits will have all of the features, so we're not going to cheap out on glass. There are some quote-unquote glass cockpits out there that are essentially EFIS, electronic flight instrumentation systems, that just present the basic six-pack in a different way. But if you really want a glass cockpit, in my opinion, what I call a glass cockpit are systems that have all of these features, like synthetic vision technology. It looks like the real world out there. XM weather, real-time weather. Terrain awareness warning systems. Traffic alerting systems. I tell you, I flew a corporate airplane, a twin-engine turboprop, Conquest 2, for about 1,500 hours out there in the system. A lot of little airport stuff, of course a lot of controlled airport stuff, but I had a simple Skywatch system in there, traffic alert system, and I felt naked. I feel naked out there without one now. They really are an incredible safety enhancing device, and so we'll have them in all the airplanes except for the champs. And things like safe taxi. If you're going to operate at night, especially, or at complex airports or IFR, you've got to have safe taxi, but it makes life easier anyhow. So we'll have all these features on the glass cockpits. You guys have probably heard me mention things like Autoflight. I'm a big believer in Autoflight, as long as you also maintain your stick and rudder skills. But Autoflight is here. It's getting better every day. We're going to see, in my opinion, full auto land within a couple of years. So that means pretty much you keep it going straight with the rudder pedals, rotate with the stick, get it in the air, punch the autopilot on, you fly to where you're going and auto land it. So that's the capability we're going to have. We have it today from turning on the autopilot till you get off the ground, right after you get off the ground, till wherever you want to turn it off before landing, usually 50, 100 feet if you want to take it low. So you've got to learn how to do that. You've got to stay proficient in it. But if you do that right, and if you keep your airmanship skills at the proper level in case all this stuff quits on you, or you screw it up, then this makes flying much safer, much more enjoyable, in my opinion, a lot more fun. Not that you can't go do the stick and rudder stuff too, but for the personal getting there kind of flying, this is the way to go, in our opinion. Also, for us older guys especially, I think enhanced vision systems are a real boon. We have this in all the Cirruses. They're not available yet on the LSAs, but it won't be long, I don't think. I just was reading where Honeywell's got a blended system now that's not certified yet, will be soon for the upper end guys, where they actually in the glass display blend synthetic vision technology with the enhanced vision technology. So you're looking at the synthetic view, the computer view, overlaid by the infrared view. So I don't know how you can get any better than that. It's just like, better than looking out the window kind of stuff. And that's right around the corner for all of us. But EVS is here now for the Cirrus. Also, we'll have all of the flight safety, advanced flight safety features we've been talking about, like BRS. Initially, we won't have BRS on the Champ, but we will put them on there when we get a big enough fleet. It's an issue for BRS. They want about, I think they told me it was like 35 airplanes for a market before they'll go through the STC process. So once we get enough of them, we'll put parachutes on those airplanes too. But it's not quite as critical on those Champs as it is on the airplanes above that. So all of the technically advanced aircraft will have parachutes, BRS systems. They'll have satellite tracking systems, which are much better than ELTs, and they afford a lot of other safety enhancing and just operationally enhancing capabilities. We'll have head-up displays on the aircraft, which again enhances flight safety, airbags on all the airplanes, including the Champs, and all of the traveling airplanes, not the Champs, but the airplanes used for cross-country, the LSAs, the Cirruses, and later on Cirrus jets and other go-in-place airplanes will have sat phones in them, so you can get in-flight support and you have another communications channel in flight. Also, the ADSOD will be structured with affordable, quote-unquote, monthly fees. Of course, affordable is in the eye of the beholder. We all know that. But I look at this and I define affordable is that, as you'll see, we think we can put out brand new airplanes at better prices than old airplanes. So I'd call that affordable. And of course, you can structure it with higher hourly rates and lower monthly fees, or a little bit higher monthly fees, lower hourly rates. We have chosen to use the good old tried and true Flying Club model. We think that's a much safer business model, and I'll explain that a little bit later. But with that model, you have monthly fees and hourly rates. And again, affordable hourly rates, rental rates on the airplane. Airplanes need to be based, we believe, close to everybody where they live or work. So we're going to have airplanes based at convenient airports in the Chicago area, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. I'll do the specifics there in just a little bit. Also, part of this demonstrator has to be comprehensive airmanship training. Comprehensive. And that's initial training for those people who have not been trained yet, and kind of remedial training for those of us who have learned different ways. We can bring everybody up to the same standard. It has to be comprehensive recurrent training, depending on what your level of experience is, how much you're flying, what kind of flying you're doing. That has a big impact to how often and what kind of recurrent. And comprehensive upgrade training. And that means upgrading to more capable airplanes or upgrading to more higher personal qualifications of airmanship. You need to use all the new tools, so that the demonstrator will, part task trainers, simulators, and of course the actual aircraft for training. For the ground training, because we believe that the training programs, flight simulator, part tasks, computer-based, all of this has to fit the learning style of all the different people involved. So we'll use the print media, digital media, DVDs, CDs, computer-based training, online learning. We'll, of course, have classroom training, so we can get together and talk about things. All the flight training will, of course, have briefings and debriefings. So one-on-one training, we'll use webinars extensively for part of the ground training. Part of the comprehensive airmanship training, we think, is having mentor pilots in the system. So everybody who is operating as a pilot in the demonstrator, the ADSOD, will be assigned to a mentor. And of course, it'll be a mutually agreeable relationship, but the mentor will be a current or former professional pilot who has a passion for helping other pilots become the best airmen they can be. And of course, we're going to standardize and train the mentors and give them the resources they need to help everybody to become the best pilot they can be. In addition to the mentor pilots, some of the mentor pilots will do some instructing or a lot of instructing. It'll be up to them. But I've found that most of us who have been flying a long time, we like to do some instructing, but not enough to service all of the instructing that's going to be needed to be done here. But we don't want the new instructors to be doing the bulk of the instructing. So we'll get senior instructors, those people who have been or are professional pilots, but they want to instruct part-time primarily, Could be retired people who want to do even full-time instructing, but senior people know what they're doing. Again, it's trained by us, standardized by us, using our system. And of course, then we've got to be training our new people, our young people coming in, so they will be in our system. We call them associate instructors, certified flight instructors, but they'll be mentored and guided by the mentor pilots and the senior instructors, and they'll be doing only part of the instructing in the various training programs. Then also in this comprehensive airmanship training program, we believe you need all the tools. So one of the tools is we're going to use is the Apereo Vision 1000 system, where every flight is recorded. All the training flights are recorded, video, audio, and a flight data recorder with accelerations, position, altitude, heading, airspeed, all that kind of stuff. You can download that after the flight and view it on a PC, and you can look at what you did, and either you can look at the video and or graphic representation. You can see here where all the control instruments are doing while you're doing this, all that sort of thing to support the training. So it helps you to critique your flight, but also a student can take a lesson and then go home and watch that lesson over and over and over. Greatly increase the effectiveness of the training program. We're also going to, in the Demonstrator, deploy a safety culture and safety management system tools, and here are some of the tools. We're going to have, in the safety culture, we'll have safety leadership, and that will, like safety officers and the mentor pilots will be leaders in the safety, all the safety parts of the safety culture. We'll have performance management, and that's where you're monitoring with the flight data recorders how everybody's flying, what our performance is, and then use that information to make it better, so performance management. Safety coaching, a lot of peer pressure, a lot of talking to each other, sharing information, so we're coaching each other on safety. Again, non-punitive, all coaching. And we're going to learn, we're going to dig deep into that behavioral safety, because as we know, we're the cause of about 80% of all the accidents. We're doing stupid pilot tricks. It all comes down to behavioral training. And we know how to do it, and it's been working over at the airlines and charter operators. So that's all part of the safety culture. Here's a quick checklist on the safety culture. For each individual participating in the ADSOD, again, it'll be personalized program plan for initial and recurrent qualification, so that whatever level that pilot wants to be qualified to fly at, we've designed a personalized program for them, initial and recurrent training, to be qualified and maintain that qualification. Then a lot of heavy training in human factors. That kind of training has been around, available in our personal flying sector of the industry, just hasn't been really pushed yet, hasn't been really incorporated in a system that we can all use. So that'll be part of this. On the organizational side of the safety culture, we'll have effective communications, and a lot of them, using all the new tools. We'll have written standard operating procedures, so we all know how to operate, and these will be accepted procedures by all of us. Non-punitive policies towards errors. If we make errors, we know that we've got to share that so we can fix the errors and let everybody else know about it, so they hopefully don't make the errors. But we've got to have a system where if I make an error, I feel free to share that error without getting kicked out of the club or penalized somehow, or everybody pointing their finger at me and saying, "Look at that dummy," you know. It has to be non-punitive. So, and those systems are, again, already in place at airlines and charter operators, so we know how to do that. And we have to collect meaningful data, and that's part of what that Apereo 1000 system is. It's a flight data recorder. It collects this data for us, and there's a computer program that then will analyze that data for us in many different ways. It'll chew it up and spit it out in ways that we can keep track of how we're doing, safety-wise and operationally. And again, a safety management system, the ADSOD system, will have these four components: safety policy, safety risk management, safety assurance, and safety promotion. So a formal safety management system. And I'll refer you back to the Redefining Airmanship series for details on that. Also, the ADSOD will include support for creating and maintaining an airmanship development plan. As I mentioned in the Redefining Airmanship series, I think everybody who's serious about trying to be the best pilot they want to be has to have a formal plan, at least something like the one we outline in the series. But I also believe it would be very hard for the typical personal flyer to develop and maintain that plan. So we have figured out, we believe, how to systematize that process so that we can both help everybody create a personalized plan and help them to maintain that and work that plan. So it'll be part of the ADSOD. Of course, as I mentioned more over and over, and everybody is pretty much in agreement now that every flight should be critiqued. And if you don't have another pilot flying it with you that you can share the critique, you should self-critique. Well, the more tools you have for that self-critique or that critique, the better. So with that Apereo 1000, Vision 1000 system, where you have that capability to replay that flight in many different ways over and over, incredible tool for self-critiquing. And there'll be other tools you can use. So that's part of the ADSOD. Also, those mentor pilots are a tool that you can use. And as I mentioned, we'll have a whole series of airmanship challenges and rewards. Also part of the Demonstrator, the ADSOD, will be the Flight Operations Support Team, or if you want to think of it as a dispatch center, but also it's a travel service so that it unloads you from all of the details, or as many of the details as that you want to unload of trip planning. So you're going to go someplace, they can handle all your travel arrangements. The flight planning, dispatch will do your flight plan for you, set up all the arrangements, do all the trade-offs, what's the best way to do it, in consultation with the pilot. And then flight dispatch will help you to make that go, no-go decision, make it in concert with you, and again, help you with, they'll file flight plans for you, all that sort of thing. Then while you're in flight, they'll actively track your flight, actively provide information and support to you if they think you need it, or they'll be available to you anytime you pick up that satellite phone and call. And they're tracking the flight the whole time for safety. In case you go down, they can dispatch somebody immediately. But also, again, another eye on what's going on with you, with the other eye watching the big picture on weather or NOTAMs or all those kinds of things. So they have the big picture for you. Got your back. In-flight support, with providing you with that information or responding to your request for change of rent-a-car at the destination, FBO, you're going to change airports, all that sort of thing. And they can manage all that trip details for you. So, extensive flight operations support team. Now here is the technical advanced aircraft at reasonable rates. The Cirrus SR-20 we plan right now to make available at $199 per hour wet, which if you know the market for rental rates on Cirruses, if you look across the board, this is the low end of retail, and usually this price range is for 4 or 5 year old airplanes. So and these will be brand new airplanes with everything in them, including the sat phones and all the things we've talked about. So 199 hour wet. A flight design CTLS and LSA with a glass cockpit and all those goodies we talked about, $99 an hour wet, which is the low end of retail out there. The Cirrus 22 top end, really go in place airplane for $259 an hour, again low end of what we've seen for retail out there. Now I've got to put the disclaimer up there, rates subject to change, because we have to crank the actual cost at the time that we set up the ADSOD and launch it into all these numbers. For example, I was quoting numbers about $10 an hour lower than this up until about a month and a half ago. What happened a month and a half ago, we had the first guys that wanted to buy a flight design CTLS and lease it back to us. And I sent them to the aircraft financing folks who I talked to at Oshkosh last summer, and told me what their deal was, finance a leaseback airplane. And in those 4 or 5 months, the terms had changed to the point that the typical payment, monthly payment on the airplane went up by $300. So that $300 a month increase in the payment caused us to have to raise the rate on that airplane $10 an hour. So we don't know exactly fuel prices, insurance rates, all of these things. We won't know until we are ready to go what they are. So these prices could change a little bit, but I think these are pretty close. If we're going to start tomorrow, I'd be comfortable saying these are the prices. The monthly fees, if you're flying the SR-20, it's $199 per month, so the same as the hourly. If you're flying the LSAs, $99 a month. If you're flying the 22, the top-end airplane, $259 a month. So it's the monthly and the hourly. Again, we'll see, subject to change. And I'm going to show you a little bit more here on those fees and rates, what they amount to in a little bit. Now, we've talked about who, what, why. Let's talk about the where. I mentioned Chicago area. We plan to have a operations center, that operations support center, we call it an ops center, located centrally in the Chicago area, probably around Schaumburg Airport. We'll also have a centralized training center there where the simulators will be based, flight training devices will be based initially until we get enough people at each airport where it makes sense to put simulators and so forth at each airport. But initially they'll be centrally located conveniently around Schaumburg Airport. And that, if you think about it, pretty easy access on average for everybody in the Chicago area. We'll have aircraft based at Aurora Airport, Lewis Airport, Lake in the Hills Airport, DuPage Airport, Chicago Executive Airport, Waukegan Airport, and at Schaumburg Airport. So 7 airports and then 1 central location, training center and ops center. Now, we're target initially to launch this with 20 airmen in the committed and selected for participation in the ADSOD at each airport. So that's 140 total airmen in the Chicago area. If we use the ratio of 10 airmen per airplane, that's 14 airplanes, 2 airplanes per airport on average. And of course, we might not be exactly 20 at every airport and exactly 2. It might move around a little bit. But we'll start, this is our start. We won't launch until we have at least 140 participants, somewhat on this mix, so we have about this many airplanes spread around the Chicago area. And then it'll grow from there. But you'll be able to fly an airplane from any airport you want. I'll show you how that works in a minute. We plan to, at each of those airports, start out with T-hangars, the airplanes and T-hangars. All airplanes will be hangared, no tie-downs. We're going to put them in what we're calling Web-enabled hangars. As far as we know, this is a new invention, I guess. We're going to use modern technology, the web, to manage these hangars, secure them, and operate them. Here's what I mean. The ops center will have control of each one of these individual T-hangars. They'll have 24/7 security through security cameras, recording, of course, all the time, so our expensive airplane assets will be properly secured where nobody can mess with them. We all want to know about that if we're sharing airplanes. We want to know who's around that airplane, who gets access to it. So first of all, we got security on it 24/7, we're watching it. Second of all, you can't get in the hangar unless Ops Center presses the button in the Ops Center and unlocks that hangar door for you to get in. So they know who's getting in the hangar. Again, more security. But then once you're in the hangar, you can't get to the ignition key of the airplane until you've received your dispatch release, and I'll talk about that in a second. So this prevents somebody from just breaking into the hangar and getting the key, but it also prevents somebody who, let's say, is not themselves that day and shouldn't be flying, and the dispatch doesn't agree that they should go, and so they can't get access to the airplane. Protects all of us from those rare times when that might be an issue. So remote control, web enabled. Also at every hangar we'll have a little kiosk, a dispatch center, PC that's hooked into, it's web enabled, but it's hooked into the ops center. Has a printer there to receive the dispatch release, so you can wait till you get to the hangar, or you can do this online before, work with the dispatcher, get your release all set to go, and do a few other things with the dispatcher so everybody knows last minute updates, NOTAMs, weather, all that. Boom, you're released. He punches the button on the lockbox for the key, and you're ready to go. Also, you'll have pre-flight support, cameras in the hangars. that will be able to be used by you to look at particular pre-flight items on the airplane in case you have a question, and our maintenance guys will be able to hook up with you and take a look at it. So if you've got an iffy question on a pre-flight item, you're not out there all alone in some T-hangar at one of these airports that we're running airplanes from. You've got a guy, maintenance guy, experienced maintenance guy, at your fingertips to help you decide whether that maintenance item, potential maintenance item, is a go, no. Then on post-flight support, you get back to the hangar, you've got the same maintenance support, but you've also got the dispatcher, and you can download all of your flight data information on a chip, and then you can either upload it right there, or you can wait till you get home. You can upload it to the internet to our Apereo Vision 1000 system. So that's what we call a web-enabled hangar. All the T-hangars will be web-enabled. So now let's talk about when. When is this going to happen? And you might ask yourself, will it be when galaxies collide, or maybe when pigs fly? Well, actually, it's right now. We're at the stage where we are ready to take applications from folks who want to participate in this. So it is happening. We plan over the next 4 months, 120 days, to select the participants for this demonstrator. Then during that time, we'll be getting the aircraft and facilities lined up. We're already in that process, so that once we have those 140 participants who have committed to the ADSOD, not financially at that point, just applied and been accepted to participate, no money involved, then we'll tell everybody, okay, are you in or not? Everybody pays their first month fee and purchases their first 4 hours of flight time, which you'll see in a minute as a requirement, and away we go. So best case, we believe we can go live with the system I just described by May 1st. Maybe not every single element of the system on May 1, but pretty close, and then we'll spool it up the rest of the way very quickly. So how are we going to do that? Here's the business model. Quick and dirty. I mentioned 140 participants. Roughly, as we see it, about 40 of them will be guys like you, current pilots who want to participate in this, be part of it. Now we're going to go out and round up 100 new people, folks that want to learn to fly, who want to be personal flyers, want brand new people. So that's 140. Each participant then commits to pay that monthly fee. So if you're flying the 20, it's $199. Flight design or the LSA is $99. 22, it's $259 a month. If you are flying, in addition to that monthly fee, you've got to commit to fly 4 hours a month. And as you recall, I said before, we don't think you're safe out there. You shouldn't be flying unless you're flying at least 4 hours a month. So we're asking you to commit to that. Now, there could be a month you don't fly those 4 hours. You can roll over unused hours, but we've got to go back and then look at your proficiency level and all that, if you've rolled them over where you're at and all that. But everybody commits to buying 4 hours a month. So now we're back to our basic flying club model. So that's $199 a month for the 20. So if you bought your 4 hours, $199 an hour. So for 4 hours, that's $796 a month. On the flight design, that's $396 a month for your 4 hours, and on the 22, it's at $259 an hour. It's $1,036 per month for those 4 hours that you commit to buy every month. Again, you don't have to use them every month. So altogether, if you're flying that 22, the $259 a month plus the 4 hours is $1,295 a month for those 4 hours. And if you're going to fly more than 4, it's $259 an hour. If you're flying the 20, $199 plus the 4 hours at $199, that's $995 a month. And if you're flying the CT, $99 plus the 4 hours at $99 is $495 a month. Now, we also know from the 80s and back in the heydays that the way that we grew the pilot population was primarily through word of mouth. So we've got to go back to that. There are other ways to bring new people in, and we'll use those other ways, but the backbone of how we get to those 120,000, 150,000 new starts a year is going to have to be through word of mouth. It worked before, it'll work again. We just have to relearn how to do it, have the tools to do it. I'm sorry, I just went backwards on the button. Have the tools to do it, have the system to do it, so it's easy for all of us to do it. And we have to make sure that we're all enthused about what we're doing and enthused about telling our family, friends, and associates about what we're doing. So if we all, for example, this is just an example, but if we were doing that, if we were networking, as it's called, and we started out with 25 of us in the initial cadre here, and in the first month, each one of us just talked to people, and out of all those people we talked to, one person said, yeah, I either want to start to learn to fly there, if they're a current pilot, they say, yeah, I want to get in on that. So let's just say one. So that's 25 new people a month. The original 25, that's 50 total of us in the ADSOD at the end of this first month. Then in the second month, if we all just got another person to interested enough they wanted to get involved, or actually just turn them on to it, the team, the ADSOD recruitment team, will take care of vetting them and bringing them in. That's 50 new people again in that month, but we had 50 before, so that's now 100 total. And then in month 3, if we all recommended one person again, that's 100 new people, so now we're up to 200, and remember our target was only 140. So you can see that through this simple geometric progression, if on average we only recommended to one person a month that they get involved, and they did, we can easily reach that goal of 140 inside of 3 months. There's no magic to that May 1st go live date. It can take us longer, maybe a little bit quicker. I don't know, that'd be pretty tough to get everything in place, but we could do this in that time, or it might take us a little bit longer. So this is our basic way that we're planning on reaching those 140 people. But we don't think it's going to be that hard, because I hope you agree with me. What you just saw is the kind of operation that we all like to fly in. And I hope you believe that relative to the cost of flying today, if you're going to fly at least that 4 hours a month, which you should be doing if you're going to do it at all, in our opinion, this is a good deal. It's probably the best deal around. So it should be attractive to a lot of people. Now, how do you get those people's attention that you know that might be interested in learning to fly? And by the way, over 50% of everybody has an interest in learning to fly. That's been proven in several market studies. And you know that you bump into them all the time. We'll give you tools for that. Maybe you hand them this glider, the balsa wood glider, and it has our contact info. So they take it home and fly. They get in touch with us. There'll be other tools you can use to just very easy for you to make that contact. What you're really doing is transferring your enthusiasm to them, and that will motivate them to contact us, and we'll take it from there. We know how to explain it to them and show them how to make their decisions to get involved. But again, as I mentioned, everybody in this, if you want to get involved, you're going to have to commit to a personal airmanship development program, because that's what this is all about on an individual basis. Also, we want you to be committed to our goals and helping us to whatever extent you can to reach the goals, because again, this is for all of us. If this is successful, if this demonstrator works, we believe that we can see how it can expand throughout the industry, and we can get back to where we need to be. Again, for every 10 participants, that's one new airplane. That's the model. And all of those airplanes will be leaseback airplanes. That's the norm in flight school rental operations out there now. Almost every airplane is a leaseback deal. However, this is a little different kind of leaseback deal. By aggregating those monthly fees, again, the old flying club model, all of those monthly fees, cover our overhead, like the flight ops center. So we know that that's coming in every month. We know that the business is solid, that the participants don't have to worry that it isn't working and it all falls apart in 2 months. We've got all of our overhead covered, so even if the airplanes don't move, we've got our support services covered, overhead. Then each airplane is covered fully by the hourly fees paid for the airplanes. Keep in mind, everybody's committed to buy at least 4 hours a month. So here's how that looks. 4 hours per month per airplane, per individual, times 10 people per airplane is 40 hours per month per airplane. That fully covers the airplane. I'll show you. This is an example is the CTLS. 10 people, 4 hours, 40 hours a month. They're going to pay $99 an hour. That means we're going to bring in $39.60 a month for those 40 hours. Well, here's what it costs to operate the airplane. The payment on the airplane is $13.40 a month, insurance $580, hangar $650, and those 40 hours direct operating cost, that's $13.60, so it's $39.30. That's just what we're going to take in. So that's what we made it that way, obviously. That's how we came up with that hourly rate. Nobody's going to get rich, but we got everything covered, and that was the idea. 10 people, one airplane, 10 people paying their monthly. They cover the overhead and the op center support required for those 10 people. Everything's covered. A good, solid, safe, sustainable business model. But the leaseback deals are not your father's leaseback deal. If you've ever done a leaseback deal, you probably told yourself you'll never do it again. Everybody I've ever talked to said they'll never do another leaseback deal if they've done one, because no leaseback deals are guaranteed. So you put your airplane in it, get spotty results, make a little money, or take in a little money, never enough to cover the airplane. On our leaseback deals, everything's covered. It's guaranteed. Everything I've shown you up here is guaranteed. When you sign up for the leaseback deal, you know you're going to get enough coming in every month that airplane, everything's covered. And then you're going to get some perks, like you get to fly for free while we have your airplane on lease and all that kind of stuff. But if you're interested in that, we'll get into details on it. But that's how we create a sustainable business model so that this can be rolled out across the country with a lot of different airplanes. Again, several individuals, one individual, you couldn't come up with enough money to buy all these airplanes. Now, you're probably asking yourself the question at this point, and I hope you are, how can I get in on this? And the answer is simple. If you're interested, apply now. Email to me, send me an email at airmanshipexcellence.org, dcook, and I will send you the application. Fill out the application, send it back in, and our committee, that selection committee, made up right now of 5 different guys who have been involved in this for quite a while. We'll take a look at it, we'll talk to you, and if it looks like it's a match, we think you're the right kind of guy and you want to do this, you think you're the right kind of person for this, we'll put you, reserve a spot for you on the list. Again, no commitment on your part at this point. And we're not committing to you at this point. We're going to do this. We're reserving that go decision until we see whether or not we can round up this critical mass of people to launch it. Again, we want to launch it on a solid business footing. So that's all you have to do to get involved, get in on it. So I'm going to open up the mics. If you have any questions, mics are unmuted. Go ahead and fire away. Any questions or comments? I'd also like to take this to the next step of asking you, what do you think about it? So nobody wants to venture a comment? Well, okay, I understand that. I'm looking forward to your feedback, though, because that helps us tremendously to improve this, make it right, because that's what we're doing it for. We're designing it so it works for all of us. So if you have any ideas, I'd appreciate your feedback by email or give me a phone call at any time. Here's my contact information. You probably already have that. So I would like to thank you all for joining us this evening and being interested to this point. And I hope that you decide to stay in the airmanship development loop and you continue to pay attention to what we're doing. So fly safe and hope to be talking to you again soon.